Welcome back. I'm now going to be reviewing all of Tuesday's action from the NHL. There were a grand total of 8 games, therefore 16 teams were fighting for 2 points respectively. Starting with the Battle of the Tkachuk brothers, as we have Brady Tkachuk. He was still on his road trip with the Ottawa Senators, taking on the Florida Panthers, and Matthew Tkachuk. All right, let's see who won the Battle of the Brothers. In the first period, Ekblad would kick things off for the Florida Panthers just 19 seconds into the opening frame, his 4th goal of the season, assisted by Verhaeghe and Sam Reinhart. In the second period, Montour would give the Panthers a 2-0 lead, getting his 4th goal of the year with about 3 minutes remaining on the clock. So after 40 minutes of play, it was 2-0 in favor of Florida. 5 minutes and 36 seconds into that third frame, Chabot would get his 3rd goal of the year, finally getting the Sens on the board, making it 2-1 at that point in favor of the Panthers. 8 minutes and 46 seconds in that same period, Tim Stützle would tie the game up, getting his 14th goal of the year, assisted by Giroux and Chabot. So they were down 2-0 after 40 minutes of play, managed to get 2 goals, and sent this game to overtime. Lundell would get the game-winning goal, his 8th of the year, from Tkachuk and Montour, 1 minute and 36 seconds in that frame. So the Panthers almost blew a 2-0 lead, but they managed to overcome it and get the victory in the extra frame. So with that, they're kind of flip-flopping spots with the Boston Bruins, but they, at that point, were either first or second in the Atlantic Division, 37, 11, and 12. And with the loss, the Senators are 23, 27, and 3. All right, the next game took place in New York. Madison Square Garden, to be exact, was this site between the Rangers and the Dallas Stars. So 2 teams that are very good. I would not be surprised if both these teams were competitive in the playoffs when that gets kicked off here in about a month and a half or 2 months. So in the first period, Adam Fox would kick things off, getting his 9th goal of the year from Panarin and Lindgren, 7 minutes and 46 seconds into that frame. After 20 minutes of play, it was 1-0 in favor of the Rangers. Kaka would make it 2-0, getting his 7th goal of the year from Gustafsson and Miller. Miller, I apologize. 8 minutes and 23 seconds in that frame. Roughly 50 seconds after that, Heiskanen would finally get the Stars on the board, getting his 7th goal of the year from Ben and Pavelski. In the third period, Trocheck would get a late goal for the Rangers, getting his 19th of the season from Kreider and Zibanejad, with 1 minute and 41 remaining on the clock. 3-1 would be the final in favor of the Rangers. So with that, they are still on pace to be first in that Metropolitan Division with a record of 37, 16, and 3. And despite the loss, the Stars are 34, 15, and 8. And again, at this point, they could have been first or second in that Central Division. All right, the next matchup took place in Pittsburgh. We had the Penguins, and they were playing host to a division rival in the New York Islanders. All right, let's take a look and see how this matchup went. So both these teams are still, it's going to be a spoiler before I even get to this, but both these teams were out of a playoff position at this point and still are. But so this is obviously very critical for one team to win over the other. In the first period, Pettersson would kick things off for the Penguins with 7 minutes and 12 seconds remaining in the period, his 3rd of the year, assisted by Raquel and Erik Karlsson. Brock Nelson would tie the game up 3 minutes and 40 seconds into that middle frame, getting his 24th of the year from Pulock and Pulesh. Barzal would get an assist from Sorokin on his 17th of the season, 6 minutes and 37 seconds into that frame. At that point, it was 2-1 in favor of the Islanders. With 6 minutes and 45 seconds remaining in the period, Holmstrom would give the Islanders a 3-1 lead, and that would be his 13th goal of the year. With 3 minutes and 25 seconds remaining, Lars Eller would get his 10th goal of the season from Rudwell and Ryan Graves. After 40 minutes of play, it was 3-2 in favor of the Islanders. Mike Riley would increase the lead to 4-2 with 9 minutes and 18 seconds in that frame, his 4th of the year from Nelson and Lee. Puustinen would get his 2nd goal of the year, cutting the deficit to 4-3, assisted by Letang and Riley Smith. And Drew O'Connor, or is it Dylan O'Connor, one of those 2 O'Connors, would get his 7th goal of the year from Malkin, and that goal happened 6 minutes and 58 seconds remaining. We did need some overtime in this matchup, and Palesh would get his first goal of the year, assisted by Barzell and Bo Horvat, giving the Islanders a 5-4 victory. So with that, the Islanders are sitting at 23-18-4. Again, they're still trying to chase for a playoff spot, but there's still a few points out of it. And the Islanders are now below the Penguins are now below the Islanders with a record of 24-21-8. So it's very tight at this point in the season if you're going to be reeling and struggling when you're trying to compete for a playoff spot. All right, the next matchup took place between the Washington Capitals and the New Jersey Devils. Alrighty, so the team should be on the screen as we speak. Let's take a look and see how this one went down. In the first, McMichael would open up the scoring for the Washington Capitals, getting his 9th goal of the season from Protas and Sandin. Holtz would tie the game up with 4 minutes and 54 seconds remaining, his 13th of the year, assisted by Nemeth. In the second period, McMichael will get his 2nd goal of the game, his 10th of the year, 4 minutes and 17 seconds in the second period. And after 40 minutes of play, it was 2-1 in favor of the Capitals. Dylan Strome would increase the lead to 3-1 in the third period, 4 minutes and 10 seconds into that frame, getting his 21st goal of the year, assisted by Ovechkin and Milano. Speaking of Ovechkin, he would get his 15th goal of the season, 8 minutes and 44 seconds into that frame, assisted by Dylan Strome, making it 4-1 at that point in favor of the Capitals. With 7 minutes and 33 seconds remaining, Scarbosa would get his first goal in the National Hockey League, assisted by Carlson and Max Pacioretty, and that would make it 5-1 at that point in favor of the Devils. Eric Holla would cut the deficit. No, hold on a second. Sorry. 5-1 in favor of the Capitals. Yes, so Eric Holla would cut the deficit to 5-2 with 4 minutes and 26 seconds to go, his 12th of the year, assisted by Toffoli and Brandon Smith, I believe. And then late in the period, Ovechkin would get his 2nd goal of the game, a power play goal, his 16th of the year, assisted by Strome and TJ Oshie. So 6-2 would be the final score in favor of the Capitals. So with the win, the Capitals are 25-21-8. And just like the Islanders and the Penguins, they're still chasing for a playoff spot. And speaking of chasing for a playoff spot, the Devils are also in that same position with a record of 28-23-4. All right, the next matchup took place in Winnipeg, where we had the Jets playing host to the Minnesota Wild. So not the night prior, the Jets lost. The night prior, the Wild won. So both these teams were either hoping to continue their winning streak or get back in the win columns. Let's take a look and see how this one went. So in the first period, Velarde would get his 14th goal of the year, assisted by Connor and Josh Morrissey, 9 minutes and 20 seconds into that frame. Appleton would score just 14 seconds after that, getting his 10th of the year from Lowry and Niederreiter. So after 20 minutes of play, it was 2-0 in favor of the Jets. In the second period, Kyle Connor would get his 20th goal of the year from Velarde and DeMello, just 1 minute and 54 seconds into that frame. Late in the third, with 5 minutes and 50 seconds remaining, Rossi would get a power play goal, his 16th of the year from Chisholm and Gaudreau. After 40 minutes of play, 3-1 in favor of Winnipeg. In the third period, Velarde would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 15th of the year from Morrissey and Kyle Connor, making it 4-1 at that point, 9 minutes and 38 seconds into that frame. Sean Monahan, who I mentioned in the previous video, would then get his 4th goal as a member of the Jets, his 18th of the year from DeMello and Ehlers. Kaprizov would cut the deficit to 5-2 with a power play goal, 7 minutes and 27 seconds remaining, his 24th of the year, assisted by Erikssonek and Zuccarello. Rossi would cut the deficit to 5-3 with 5 minutes and 49 seconds remaining, his 17th of the year, assisted by Kaprizov. And with just over 3 minutes remaining, just under 3 minutes remaining, 2 minutes and 58 seconds to go, Niederreiter would increase the lead to 6-3, getting his 14th of the year, assisted by Lowry. So after losing the day before, the Jets would bounce back and get a win over a division opponent. With the win, they're 34-15-5, sitting third in that Central Division, while the Wild are 26-24-6, still out of it when it comes to the playoff spot. All right, the next matchup took place in Denver, where we had the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Vancouver Canucks. So a day after the Canucks got absolutely embarrassed in Minnesota, they were hoping to bounce back in Colorado. Let's take a look and see how this game went. JT Miller would kick things off for the Canucks with 9 minutes and 14 seconds remaining. He would get his 28th goal of the season from Besser and Quinn Hughes. After one period of play, the Canucks were up 1-0. In the second frame, Ryan Johansson would tie the game up 2 minutes and 54 seconds in that period, getting his 12th goal of the season, assisted by Jack Johnson and Devin Taves. After 40 minutes of play, we were tied up at 1. Johansson would get his second goal of the game, assisted by Zach Parise, just a minute and 35 seconds into the frame. So that at that point, the Avalanche were up 2-1. And then Lehkonen would get a late goal for the Avalanche, getting his 7th goal of the season from McKinnon and Rantanen. And that goal happened with just 28 seconds remaining. So 3-1 would be the final score in favor of Colorado. They are currently sitting second in that Central Division with a record of 35-17-4. And for the Canucks, they're still in first place, but after losing back-to-back games, they're looking a little vulnerable. They have a record of 37-15-6. All right, the next game took place in Las Vegas, where we had the Golden Knights, and they were playing host to the Nashville Predators. Alrighty, let's see how this one went. So in the first period, Emin Jalista would get his 11th goal of the year from Yossi and McDonough, 5 minutes and 35 seconds into that opening frame. With just under 6 minutes to go, 5 minutes and 51 seconds to be exact, Pietrangelo would tie the game up, getting his 3rd goal of the year from Martinez and Stevenson. Cody Glass would give the Nashville Predators a late lead in that first frame, getting his 2nd goal of the season, assisted by Yossi and Trennan. After 20 minutes of play, it was 2-1 in favor of Nashville. In the second, Novak would score his 12th goal of the year from McDonough and Carrier, 8 minutes and 4 seconds into that frame. And with just 4 minutes and 2 seconds to go, Smith would increase the lead to 4-1, getting his 7th goal of the year from McCarron and Sherwood. So after 40 minutes of play, Nashville had a 4-1 lead over the host Vegas Golden Knights. Carlson would cut the deficit to 4-2 with a power play goal just 47 seconds into that frame, getting his 18th goal of the season from Waugh and Theodore. Amadio would cut the deficit to 4-3 late in that period, 2 minutes and 59 seconds to be exact, his 9th goal of the season from Martinez and Brashev. Nyquist would get an empty netter, getting his 13th goal of the year, making it 5-3 at that point in favor of Nashville. So with the win, the Predators are sitting at 30-25-2. They're just on the outskirts of a playoff spot. They're close, but not quite there. And as for the Vegas Golden Knights, they're still sitting second in that Pacific Division with a record of 32-18-2. All right, the last matchup took place in Los Angeles, where we had the Kings, and they were playing host to the Columbus Blue Jackets. All righty. So let's take a look and see how this one unfolded. So in the first, Byfield would get his 18th goal of the season with just a minute and 38 seconds remaining. It was 1-0 in favor of the Kings at that point. Pierre-Luc Dubois would increase the lead to 2-0 in the second period, getting his 12th of the year, assisted by Clark and Cam Talbot. A power play goal to note. Blomqvist would get his first goal of the season for the Columbus Blue Jackets, assisted by Jenner and Roslovic, 4 minutes and 41 seconds into that frame. And then with 9 minutes and 11 seconds to go, Pierre-Luc Dubois would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 13th of the year from Byfield and Turcotte. So 3-1 in favor of the Kings heading into the third period. Kevin Fiala would get a late power play goal for the Kings in the third with just 4 minutes and 4 seconds to go. His 14th of the year from Doughty and Kempe. Drew Doughty would increase the lead to 5-1 with just 23 seconds remaining. His 12th of the season from Trevor Moore and Philippe Danault. So 5-1 would be the final in this matchup. With the victory, the Kings are sitting first in that wild card position with a record of 27-17-10. And for the Blue Jackets, they have the worst record in the Eastern Conference with a record of 18-26-10. So obviously the playoffs are out of the question for 2024. All right, that takes care of my recap from Tuesday night. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, please feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, take care.